showing breaking news out of Montgomery County. Good morning. I'm Jenna Zibton.
And I'm Patrick McKee. We have just learned that David Eisenhauer has pled no contest to 3 charges: murder, concealing a body, and abduction in connection to the disappearance and murder of 13-year-old Nicole Lovell.
Now, by pleading no contest, Eisenhauer waives his right to a trial along with his right to defend himself or make an appeal in the case. His charges could amount to life plus 15 years. The former Virginia Tech student is charged with first-degree murder, abduction, and concealing a dead body.
As we've reported, it's been 2 years since the Blacksburg middle schooler was lured from her home and brutally stabbed to death in the woods. 10 News has covered this story all throughout the week as the trial started back on Monday with jury selection. 10 News anchor Brittany McGraw joins us live from outside the courthouse with what we know. Brittany, good morning to you.
Good morning. Yes, our Rachel Lucas has been in the courtroom from day one covering this trial for you. And first, we do want to take you through a timeline of events that led to today's plea deal in which David Eisenhauer has now pleaded no contest to all of the charges against him. It was back in January of 2016 that there was a lot of worry and concern in the community when 13-year-old Nicole Lovell initially disappeared. After that, there was a huge search to find her, and it was a few days later that David Eisenhauer was initially charged with abduction in her disappearance. Now, remember, at that time, he was 18 years old. He was a freshman at Virginia Tech. Now, with this trial, 2 years later, he is now 20 years old. But it was also that same day on January 30th that police found 13-year-old Nicole Lovell's body near the North Carolina border. And it was also that same day that Eisenhauer's charges were upgraded, and he was also charged with first-degree murder. Of course, the family and the surrounding community was devastated to learn that Nicole at that point was no longer, had passed away, had been killed. And the president of Virginia Tech issued a statement to the Virginia Tech community about this, that they were devastated at Nicole's loss, that everyone was in a state of shock and sadness, and a lot of people incredibly surprised that a Virginia Tech student was allegedly involved with this. There were a number of vigils and church services for Nicole, and now we fast forward to this Monday when there was jury selection. Jury selection initially got underway, and this would have been the 5th day of the trial, but as we just told you, David Eisenhauer has pleaded no contest to all of the charges in this case. Of course, we will be having coverage for you throughout the day here on 10 News. Right now, though, we do want to send it back to the studio.
Thanks so much, Brittany. This case has really captivated this entire area for the last 2 years and across the country,
Absolutely.
really. Joining us now by phone is Phil Klein, a criminal law expert from Liberty University. Phil, tell us, by pleading no contest in the middle of a jury trial, what does this say about the case?
Well, it says that the defendant has decided that there's a little likelihood of acquittal. Moreover, there's a lot of reasons why a no contest plea can occur during a trial. It can also occur where the prosecution is willing to accept it because of concerns about continuing the trial, the emotional impact on the victims. There could be a lot of different reasons why this decision was made, but essentially the defendant is ready to take some punishment for the conduct. He's not admitting the conduct, but he doesn't believe that he will be acquitted in these charges either.
How unusual is this to see this in the middle of the case? I mean, we're here on a Friday. It's the first week of trial. This was expected to last into next week, another full week.
It's not unusual at all. It's very difficult to put yourself in a position of making these decisions until you actually experience what is taking place during the trial. As the prosecution is putting on evidence, you see their opening statements, you see the jury pool that is picked, and you start to get a feel for how this case is going. So we don't know the discussions between Mr. Eisenhauer and his attorneys leading up to this case. We don't know what his mindset was, but certainly the reality of the courtroom and the evidence that's being presented has an impact on how people make decisions.
And what does this mean for sentencing? Could this bring him a reduced sentence, or is that totally up to the judge?
Well, it doesn't necessarily. Now, I don't know the details behind the no contest plea, whether the prosecution is going to recommend a specific sentence or not as a result of any negotiations that might have been going on. But it does not necessarily reduce the punishment at all for the crime that was alleged.
Okay, Phil Klein with Liberty University, a criminal law expert. Thanks so much for being with us.
You bet.
All right, Rachel Lucas is going to join us live coming up later today. We're going to have latest continuing coverage at noon today. But again, do want to reiterate, David Eisenhauer is pleading no contest to murder, concealing a body, and abduction. We'll have the very latest for you throughout the day on WSLS.com. We will see you again at noon.